What does the U.S. Fed decision mean for Bitcoin and crypto? Well, today, the U.S. Fed is meeting to announce some of their decisions for immediately, but also probably give us some insight in the coming months in the U.S. Fed policy on interest rates. Now, what does this mean for crypto, both in the short and medium term? We'll also get into some crypto news. I am hearing more bearish talk and that we are going to trade sideways and that Bitcoin will range between 25 to 60,000 for the next 2 years. And I'm hearing that sentiment grow louder. Let's talk about what that usually means. We'll also do some question and answer and share some news updates as well. Welcome to the Crypto Rain channel. I'm your host, Jay Rain. Now, if you like money and you like crypto, and you're looking for an investor's take on the crypto market, join the Rainmaker family by liking this video and subscribing with us, all notifications bell enabled. By investor's take, I've been doing investments. I've only been in the crypto space for 4 years, which may seem like a long time to some of you, and other times it's not very long. But prior to crypto, I have been doing investing for 20 years prior, and so I bring an investor's take to this. But what I am not is a financial advisor. I'm a crypto investor myself, sharing with you how I think about the crypto market and specific cryptos I like, not financial advice. Do note that I do own or plan to own most of what I talk about on this channel because I don't talk about crypto projects I don't believe in unless I specifically say that. Special thanks to our Patreon members. We have a private Discord that our Patreon members get access to. There's a link below to our Patreon if that is of interest to you. It is a closed group. There's even more I'm able to discuss there than I can't necessarily in other settings. When you join us there, you will see more of what I'm talking about. Thank you so much for joining us. Also, special shout out to Juan Chain, who is a strategic partner that gives us Juan Chain every month to give away to each of you. So tune in today or Friday. We'll be giving away some more Juan Chain. Now, make it rain on that like button and strap in for the show. Let's welcome our producer, D Money.
Hey, what up, Jay? I just got a private message that some people are hearing, or that one person at least is hearing your mic a little bit weird. Is that coming through for other people who are in the chat right now? It sounds fine to me, but we have a different connection, obviously. But yeah, while we're thinking about that, it's hump day. Yeah, man, we just got through recording with Paul the video that's going to release tomorrow, and that's always such a great conversation to be a part of. Just to get overall market sentiments and just a daily dose. Yeah, okay, cool. Chris is saying, "What's up, Chris?" By the way, I hear Jay fine, Dougie. No issues here. Abe says sounds great. So anyway, hopefully that's just on the user end. But yeah, really
for Paul, I would say definitely tune in for that tomorrow because
definitely.
I learned some interesting things because he's not in the crypto space every day. He looks at so many different markets. Probably maybe spends 10% of his time or less looking at the crypto markets. So what's good about that is he doesn't carry some of the biases that we have in looking at it every day. And there started to be certain sentiments, certain feelings. And so it was really refreshing to get some things that he's seeing in a general sentiment. And you won't want to miss that because I suspect you'll actually really enjoy hearing some of the conclusions that kind of came out of some of what we're talking about. And it might be very refreshing.
Yeah, and there were a lot of discussions about just overall market sentiments, and and I love the chart analysis, but there were a few times where it was just like, hey, we're talking about just overall market stuff, for the first almost 20 minutes. So anyway, yeah, check it out tomorrow, guys, and also we got the VV, the OMI live stream tonight, 7:30 Pacific. So a lot of content coming up. Let's get the party started, shall we?
Let's do it. Join me, Rainmakers. So in the hours leading up to the Fed decision, 10-year Treasury rates ticked up to 2.171 from 2.16. Now, it's largely expected the Fed will raise their rates by a quarter point. And what does this really mean? It means that finally, the U.S. Fed is doing the responsible thing that it should have been doing for a while. Okay, so some real talk here. A year ago, They thought inflation wasn't going to happen, despite all the evidence that screamed, yes, of course it's going to happen. They came out and said, no, inflation's not really going to happen. And then 4 months ago, they thought inflation was just transitory. Now, they've been wrong after being wrong after being wrong. And strangely, these people that keep getting it wrong are all still there. And my question is, are they at least updating their models? So what is the truth? Inflation in the US is being measured at a bit more than 8% annually. Now, keep in mind, because that's not really true. This is after they changed the way inflation was measured just recently. This is a little trick politicians do where they change how the measurements are done to make it seem better than it is. And we often see this when you look deeper, which they expect a lot of people won't do. So what is true inflation at? Well, we don't really know, but if you use what inflation and the measure used to be decades ago, US inflation is close to 15%. Now, doesn't that sound a lot closer to what you have likely been feeling if you're in the US? So the former Treasury Secretary, who used to be in the position of Janet Yellen, had some not so nice words for how they have gotten so much wrong. Nobody is fired, and nobody is even answering to how they got so much wrong. Why is this all relevant to Bitcoin? Well, because Bitcoin is the hedge against bad and irresponsible fiat policy. Isn't that what it really is? Now let's take a second or a few minutes to go through the history of money. Thousands and tens of thousands of years ago, people traded with goods. Sometimes they found something that they could use that they felt had value that was easier to exchange as money and a store of value. When I took economics at a class from a brilliant economics professor who used to work on the national stage and international stage with monetary policy, he went through the history of money, and he was talking about in some islands, there was one island that they would say that ownership of these big rocks was used as their money. And it's like, I'll sell you half ownership of that rock for 7 cows. And what's interesting is as society evolved, many empires, as they grew into empires, were able to grow large, like the Assyrians. Did you say something? I might have heard something from my speakers. I didn't know if I missed
No, it wasn't me, Jay. No, go ahead.
Okay, many empires were able to grow large, such as the Assyrians, the Egyptians, Babylon, Rome, as they created a currency for their empires that could easily be traded within and even sometimes outside their empires as it held value. Abe says, CPI is only 7.1. U.S. government wouldn't lie. Yeah, exactly right. No way the U.S. government would lie. All right, many of these even used gold for their currency, as gold often worked well for a money as well as a store of value. But many of these, in order to spend more than they had, they did little tricks like mixing their gold with other metals to make the gold they had go farther, as going off of things like gold meant politicians were only able to spend money they had actually taken in. Well, that is severely hard to only be able to spend the money that you take in. So governments get creative often, and said creativity over time has killed every fiat currency in history over time. Fair to say that modern fiat is also following the same path. Now, why is it that we trust governments with fiat in the first place? In some countries, it's because we have no choice, right? In democracies, it is because if a company was given a monopoly over the money supply, that would often lead to worse problems than having a company, having a government in charge of it. Though I do believe in free markets, having one company have a monopoly on the decisions related to a fiat currency would likely be disastrous. So we trusted governments, and inevitably politicians find a way to put their hands in the cookie jar. By putting their hands in the cookie jar, let's talk about the pressures that politicians feel. We'll use the US system for this. Now, each president, no matter the party, do they want belt tightening to happen under their presidency? Not really. Why? because it will likely lead to election losses in the midterm elections for their party, which lessens their power. And then possibly they will lose re-election in the following term. So the responsible thing to do when inflation begins to go crazy, and estimates put it that there is 30% more currency in the US economy than just 12 months prior. Yeah, I know. 30% is a lot. I know that's exactly what went through your mind. So then when we see more dollars available, but there are the same amount of goods available to purchase, or even less because of government restrictions related to the pandemic, is it fair to say that there are even less goods available? So we have fewer goods, but more dollars chasing them. And this is exactly what causes prices to go up. So how do you combat this? Well, the U.S. monetary policy, the current White House has been trying to convince us that they combat this by printing even more money, which doesn't make sense to anybody who's had even third grade economics. One of the real ways you combat this is that they start raising U.S. interest rates through the Fed raising their interest rates. And this slows things down. And this usually negatively impacts the economy, which negatively impacts the party in power. And their power, they don't like that touch, which is why the party in power in the U.S. usually puts pressure on the Federal Reserve not to do this. But with that said, do you think the Fed was actually wrong a year ago? Just a question to you. Or were they just lying to us? Were they wrong 4 months ago, or was it a lie? I can't say I know for sure if it was just a lie, because I don't want to assume that it was, but it is an interesting question. Because if it wasn't a lie, why are the people who keep getting it wrong still in charge and no one is demanding answers as to why they got it wrong? I don't know what the answer to that question is. So how does this all relate to Bitcoin? Because this has everything to do with the real value of Bitcoin and why over time Bitcoin is getting more and more adoption, and the price over every 4-year period goes way, way higher. Matters not just in the US, not just in Canada, not just in the EU, where all the fiats are going down dramatically in true value, but globally. And we trusted governments for our money store value because there was no one else better. But is it fair to say that there might now be someone we could trust better? And that someone is specifically code, because that code can be verified, audited, and consensus mechanisms put in place that ensure true fairness. Now, isn't this a better system than the one that we have, that we know that is failing us? And it isn't a question of whether fiat will go to zero. It always does and always has. So it's more a question of when will fiat go to zero? And we hope that's not for a very, very long time. But isn't Bitcoin and cryptocurrency our general hedge against that? Because we're seeing the actions by the current politicians. We're like, man, fiat is going to zero a lot faster than we would like. And isn't that just getting worse? That it's going to zero faster, and that these irresponsible decisions is breaking a system that we don't want to break. But it's fair to say that we're lining up our plan Bs in case it does. Because I don't know about you, I have been. Now, let's take a look at the Bitcoin charts and see where Bitcoin is. Now, Bitcoin has been bouncing around in this range. And I really think that the true value of Bitcoin is really setting in this year with what's happening in Russia and Ukraine. Russians started using Bitcoin because they were getting locked out of the banking system, not just like the oligarchs, not just the person in charge of Russia, but the actual people in Russia got their bank accounts, their Visa, MasterCards no longer are usable. And so we saw a big spike up here related, I think that was here, related to a bunch of Bitcoin purchases, as people were probably looking for a better store of value because the Russian ruble was going to zero. Do you know what the difference between a Russian ruble and a dollar is? About $1. Funny joke, but the ruble's value has been destroyed. Secondly, we saw the people of Ukraine, their fears, and they were buying Bitcoin because they wanted something that was they could take with them if they left the country. They wanted something that was a true store of value. as well as we're seeing the Fed, US Fed, react way slower than it should have with raising rates. And why? We don't fully know. Should they just be raising it a quarter? Well, they were planning on raising it more, but with the war happening between Russia and Ukraine, it seems like everyone's expecting a quarter point raise, but then more raises coming. And it's important that happens to put a brake on the economy so that the growth of the economy can be healthy, right? It's kind of like been on a credit card spending spree, and then at some point we got to start acting responsibly.
Hey, and Jay, just so you know, so Whitey Boy said, a quarter point Fed rate hike. And I confirmed, so Bloomberg broke it about 12 minutes ago. That was the actual hike, just so you know. So we don't need to speak theoretically anymore. It actually,
Yeah, that is exactly
that
what
is the
happened. And that was
yeah,
pretty much anticipated. And they try to
sure.
give the markets a heads up because the markets don't like the unknown, right? So I feel like they do a good job of kind of giving the market a heads up beforehand, because then if it came in different, then you might see the markets react poorly to that. So good to know that that's exactly what it did come in at. So what is going on with the crypto market? We have been down like this, and I've been working on a thesis that we had this early pump, and I call this early pump the Elon Musk pump. I call this second pump. This is more like it was kind of going up, and then in October, Metaverse made an announcement about, or Facebook made an announcement about Metaverse being a critical part of the future and that they were changing their name, and things took off tremendously. Bitcoin followed that, but if you saw the altcoin charts, anything Metaverse related, a lot of those things 10x, some of them 20 and 30x. And then they've been pulling back since then. So I would call this the Facebook pump here. And then we've had this big retracement. Now, I'm hearing more and more talk from people about, oh, we're in for a 2-year bear market. And, oh, we're just going to trade sideways and the price is going to range between 25,000 and 50,000 or 25,000 and 60,000, depending on who you ask. And I'm really, really glad to hear that. That is music to my ear, because remember, the market takes the most amount of money from the most amount of people. And if I weren't hearing a bunch of people kind of pushed down by the bearish sentiment and then turning bearish, then I'd be very concerned about my thesis. My thesis, which is I believe in these lengthening cycles. And depending on how you do the math, that puts Bitcoin is peaking out sometime between 27th of May and maybe even a little bit later. You have to do some, what they call in statistics, extrapolation. And that puts Bitcoin peaking between May to July of this year. Now, that would be amazing, because likely if that happens, the altcoin pump that we're looking for, the massive one, would also happen. And I still feel like that's how it's going to play out. And I'll keep you updated, because I don't have a magic crystal ball. The one I bought from Walmart, it doesn't work. Who knew? And so what I have to do is just play the odds. But the massive pump that we tend to have every 4 years takes Bitcoin to exceedingly big highs over the previous one. And I still just don't buy into that this pump. See, the previous year's pump took Bitcoin all the way to 20,000. And I don't think this is the top of right near 70,000 for this cycle for Bitcoin. Because from 2013 to 2017, that increase was like a 20x from high to high. So that means the top of this, if what they're saying is true and we're just going to trade sideways for the next 2 years, that means the top was only a little over 3x from the previous high. I don't think so. But it's good to hear so many people saying that, because the market does like to surprise people, and a lot of big voices saying that. And I still think they're wrong. And we will know in the coming months who's right and who's wrong on this. Now, how am I positioned exactly for this? If I'm wrong, man, sucks for me, because I am positioned in low cap altcoins. And I was actually talking to somebody, it was like Friday of last week, and this person is heavily involved in VC investing and actually early stage helping develop the tokenomics of projects and other things. And we were talking. He's like, how's your portfolio doing? I was like, I'm positioned in low cap altcoins. I've been selling some of my blue chips into low. He's like, what are you doing? I've been doing the opposite. And I was like, oh, so selling low and buying, well, less low. Okay. Makes sense. And he's like, yeah, I'm mostly positioned in Luna, which is why I had to do the video on Luna yesterday, because I've heard too many people saying that. Everyone's talking about Luna. Luna's just went from, like, if you look back in July, it went from $6 up to $100 and then retraced all the way to $50, bounced right back up to close to $100, trading about $89. But is this really the time to be buying it? It could go higher, and what? It could go to $200 or $300, maybe. There's just as much probability, though. It can then retrace, and it could retrace all the way back to $30. And so is this the time I'm selling my altcoins at lows to buy Luna at highs? I don't do that. I'm selling Luna to buy altcoins that are at lows. And maybe I'm wrong on this, but I can tell you over the past 4 years, if we kind of wipe out the first year where I was pretty new to crypto, and I thought some of my previous investing experience didn't apply near as much as it really did. So my decision over the past 3 years have been much, much, much better. And I'm not always right, but I am often right. And so I'm really curious to see how this year plays out. If a lot of those people I'm talking to, if they're wrong, because a lot of them are expecting we're just going to be in this trading sideways, maybe even trending down for a couple of years. If we don't hit this massive blow off top, I do encourage you to watch the video tomorrow with Paul, because some of his insights confirm that I think I'm still right on this. All right. With that said, I want to check up on what's going on in the chat. Thank you, Doctor of Stuff. Yeah, hit that like button. I hope you all are tuning into the VV live stream. It's so nice that we're able to bring Doctor of Stuff on. He is so on top of not just VV, but NFTs in general, but especially with VV, some of the best alpha in the whole space, which is what makes the VV live stream possible. His knowledge. He's a very busy person, so thankfully he gives us some of his time to come on, because his knowledge related to VV and the VV ecosystem is top notch, and his insights are top notch. So thank you, Dr. Stuff, for joining us. Chris Ashby. Yeah, I love you guys. Dougie Collinson, he needs some Navy SEALs training. I missed who that was related to.
I think it must have been your buddy who was getting Luna right now, right?
You know what's funny is sometimes they just talk to each other. Many of them don't even watch like YouTube and everything. And so, or if they do, it's very minimal. And so there's this sounding board problem, right? That they kind of all think the same way, and you can hear that. And I was really happy to hear him saying that, because it confirmed more to me that I'm right, because the market catches people off guard. And so I want to hear so many people generally bearish. Because that tells me the chances are way greater that we could have this blow off top that I'm still looking for. Chris Ashby says, hey, Jay, what are your thoughts on UST as an algorithmic stablecoin? I recall Titan Finance's algorithmic stablecoin that lost the peg and died. Are you concerned at all? I'm concerned. Absolutely, because every algorithmic stablecoin so far has lost their peg and died. So concerned is definitely a word. Do I still have some Luna? I do. I just sold off some of my staking rewards into it. The challenge with why I haven't taken more profits out of Luna is because when you unstake it, I think there's a 28-day waiting period. So, and I don't know what the price looks like in 28 days, because if it finally, unstakes 28 days later, and you get no staking rewards during that time. So right now I have some staking rewards. If it were easy to sell, I probably would have sold half my position already, which would have put me way in profits, because I bought it at $6, so it's over 10x from there. But it is earning me some staking rewards, and so I'm just selling off the staking rewards for now. And I don't know. I haven't decided. Am I concerned? Yes. I hope it holds, though, because if it does hold, then this means, like, one of the concerns with the stablecoins that are out there, USDC and USDT, is that they're centralized. You can be shut off on your access. So say you say something that's politically incorrect, and you get like the UK and Canada and the US to all decide that they don't like you because there's this political correctness going on around the world. And then they get like all the major tech companies to shut you down. And then they take away your access to money. That could include USDC and USDT. I would love for there to be a stablecoin out there that they couldn't, because it's an algorithmic stablecoin like UST. Because, like, look, If you think about what happened to Plato, right? What happened to Plato? He said something very politically incorrect that all the scientists of the day say there's no way this is correct. He said the earth revolves around the sun and the sun doesn't revolve around the earth, and that was heresy, and he was a heretic. And then they trotted out Dr. Fauci. Oh, wait, no, there was no Dr. Fauci back then, but they trotted out all these other scientists, and they said scientific consensus is this. If you said anything otherwise, so he was confined to his house, and he eventually died in his house. And that's because he broke scientific consensus. Now, we know with history, he was absolutely correct. So how could it be that all these other scientists were wrong? And that's the integration of science and politics. And when that integration is high, and it is very high right now, actual science doesn't get done. As well as if you come out with anything that's probably true, but it hurts for whatever reason existing politics, then you might get blacklisted by major governments and other things. And I hate to see that because it actually is anti-science. So all the people running around saying anti-science these days, a lot of them are anti-science. And why so much of that is happening, I don't know what's happened the last 5 years. It's craziness, the political correctness gone wrong in this cancel culture. And I remember when it started with Alex Jones. Now, Alex Jones never paid attention to because he always just seemed so crazy. So when they were taking Alex Jones off the air, I was like, Alex Jones, okay, that guy seems crazy anyway. But it's then led to canceling any thoughts that they don't like. And we've gotten like penalties on this channel, all of a sudden demonetized for we don't even know what. We're just saying things like we felt it was. Who knows? Maybe they'll take this down someday. Maybe another platform will come out that's a little bit more pro-science, and we'd love to go to that. All right. Want to check out some more Let's Go Rainmakers? Thank you, Larry. We appreciate that. William Breeze laughing. Appreciate that as well. It's a leftist move towards globalism. It is. It is. And they're so scared of free speech, apparently. But I thought the leftists were supposed to be the ones that were for free speech. We are not seeing that. Cancel culture is why we need privacy on the blockchain. It is. What's funny is I do believe that there's a creator in this world. Some people call him God. Some people call him Allah. Some the people have different names for him. And what's interesting is the creation of Bitcoin came right in time, right? Because then we at least have an option. None of us want to see fiat break. But is it fair to say it was inevitable after, what's his name? U.S. President Nixon took the U.S. off the peg. Now, a lot of other countries, they actually have their currencies pegged to the U.S. dollar. So inflation actually hurts not just the U.S., but many, many people around the world. And it actually benefits the rich and hurts the poor. And so I don't like to see inflation. I like an environment where the poor have the ability through hard work to rise up to the rich. That the rich can stay rich as long as they work hard and they innovate and they create things that people want. That's fine. I don't have anything against the rich. I want to be super, super rich one day. Maybe even have a B in front of that wealth number. But yeah, I don't mind it being, I like a system where everyone has to work hard and innovate and create good ideas, not kleptocracy, not one that's like where you have to be in bed with the government in order to succeed, like we saw in the Dark Ages, right? Isn't that really what held the Dark Ages down? No innovation happened because all the jobs were given to family members of the king. Didn't matter how good you were if you didn't have the right connection. So it really stifled innovation, right? And it seems like we're going more towards a Dark Ages mentality. But crypto has been like a shining light of innovation that's gone worldwide, which I like to see because then countries have to compete to get the innovators, which is why we're seeing the brain drain that we covered last week in India. And you're just seeing how global cryptocurrency is. I listened to a person that was out of Ukraine and they left Ukraine and went somewhere else to Poland, and they're able to keep working. They worked in crypto because they just had a laptop. Isn't that amazing for all of you that want a system that's more fair, a system that as you add value, you can get paid accordingly and you can't be held down by glass ceilings? And I feel like crypto is bringing that across the world. And that as some countries decide they try to fight it, well, then the smart and innovative people in their country can then leave for other countries. So I'm liking everything that is happening with cryptocurrency, and maybe it was a little bit of divine intervention. I tend to think it was at just the right time. Zach says the liberal political culture in the U.S. is unrecognizable to me anymore. It seems to have gotten crazy. Yeah. I'm hoping DeFi comes in the narrative soon. I think it will. It's been out of the narrative since March of last year. And isn't it about time that it comes back in? And maybe I was really been hoping that Luna kicks that off. Why? Because it is a strong narrative, right? And you think with interest rates are going to be rising, yet you'll see if you're in the US or even Canada, the amount that you're getting on your savings in the bank will be pretty low. And so that makes DeFi so attractive because, especially with inflation, real inflation being so high, in order to just be treading water, you need to be getting better rates of return on your money. And as companies and other institutions start looking at that, DeFi could come into the narrative and be really, really strong. Yeah, DeFi is warming up with Freeway Token today. You know, why don't we talk about Freeway Token? I haven't talked about them in a while. But I love this project. I did go ahead and move over $1,000 to them months ago. And so it's earning a rate of about 40-something% interest on it. Now, I've talked many times about how I think this market is going to play out. And then when we have this last leg of the bull run, I'm going to be taking a lot of profits out to stable coins. And then we'll be looking for places to get a return on those stable coins. Now, one of the highest paying ones is Anchor Protocol, give you just over 19%. And that is on the Luna ecosystem. That's part of what's driving Luna to do so well, is you can take Luna, convert it to UST. So say you have 10 Luna and they're trading at $100 a piece. Well, that you can convert it to about 1,000 UST. You can then take that UST, or you can just exchange it for UST. You don't have to do the conversion process directly if you don't want to. But if you want, you can actually burn it for UST. And then you take that UST, put it on Anchor Protocol, and get about 19.5% interest, which is amazing, until you can pair that to what Freeway Token has been earning. Now, Freeway Token, they have a platform called Aubit and Aubit Prime and Freeway Lite, and I forget the name of it. But some of the ways you can get to it is just coming to Aubit, then go to aubit.io. But here is their token related to it. Now, what is the token's use case? Because you can take stable coins and you can put them on Aubit's platform, whether it's Freeway Lite, I forget, there's two different ones. And we do have a link down below. There used to be a separate link for those in the US and a separate link for those outside the US. Now it's just one link, and it will recognize where your ISP is and shift you accordingly, or it'll ask you, are you inside the US or outside the US? Because there's different regulatory environments. Inside the US, you can't get access to some of their superchargers. So they have a Bitcoin supercharger, they have a stablecoin supercharger. Essentially, their stablecoin supercharger is paying upwards of 40% interest on it, especially if you hold over 5% of your balance staked in Freeway Token, which is where the token use case comes into play. So we've been following Freeway Token for a while, and it's been range bound for really the last year. It had hit prior to that some higher numbers, I think. No, the highest it's hit is 2.5 cents. It launched way back here, and it's been trading sideways. Well, it did go all the way down to about 0.8 cents, which I did actually buy a bunch more, and I already hold a lot. And so it's been coming up since then. And it should, because they have been doing a good job paying out their 40%. Now, what are some potential risks with this? Well, it pays out 40+%, like 43% annualized, if you have your supercharger fully activated, which means you have enough Freeway tokens staked in your account to fully activate your supercharger. And so the USD stablecoin supercharger pays out about 43% annually, which is essentially 3% a month compounded. Now, how is it that they pay this out? Well, the narrative is that they pay it out through, they have, they're leasing a trading algorithm that's this company has used in the stocks and other things for a long time that has very, very good rates of return. And they're leasing it to them because they don't use it in crypto markets. And so then they take that algorithm and do the trading for you, and they're giving you a return of what they're making. Now, there's actually a company out there that has been doing stock trading in the market. I don't know if it's the last 20 or 40 years, but it's actually averaged 60 to 65%. So there is such a company, but there's only one. And if that's who they're leasing for, then this is completely an amazing place to be, and it's going to boom tremendously. There's always the case too. I mean, the teams fully dox themselves. So if it's the case that they're lying about this and they don't have this algorithm, then it's really just a Ponzi scheme, and it will absolutely fall apart at one point and fall to the ground and burn. Now, I'm pretty convinced that it's probably that algorithm, but I wish I could say I was 100% sure. I'm not. If I was 100% sure, I would have even larger positions than I already have. I have talked to them a couple times, the team themselves, and they can't confirm under a non-disclosure act if it is that company or not. So they have a non-disclosure sign with them, but it seems like it. They hinted that it may be, but they can't confirm it. So that's the risk I'm taking, and I'm okay with taking. But just to be fully transparent with you, I want to make sure you know all the information that I have on this. Now, if it is the case, they're leasing that algorithm and it's returning 60 to 65% a year. Do you see where all the money is to be able to pay you out 40% a year, 43% a year returns on your money and still be way profitable as a company? Now, I just talked to one of the team members like a week ago, and he said their returns are coming in really, really strong, and they have some very important, exciting announcements coming out that they'll be announcing. I don't know what those are. I just know something's coming, and we're seeing an uptick in theirs. Now, if it comes to play that this is the case, Freeway token is going to become huge. And what you've seen happen to Luna will probably happen to Freeway token as well. And that's why I have such a large position in them. If you're interested in putting some stable coins to use in their supercharger, use our link below and get started on it. I opened my account. I'm not majorly employing their superchargers. I am tempted to throw some money in like their Bitcoin or their ADA supercharger or other things, because I want to be able to explore further upside as well, get a great return, because I think their Bitcoin and ADA superchargers pay 20% additional interest. So if you're just holding Bitcoin, it's not a bad place to hold a Bitcoin supercharger. If you're just holding Cardano, it's not a bad place to hold a Cardano supercharger. But I think in the US, you can't use a Cardano supercharger unless you get an institutional account for accredited investors. I think that's the case. But I do know in the US, you will be able to get like Bitcoin supercharger and maybe even an ETH supercharger. So if you're exploring further upsides on those, could be great. Now, if this platform continues to get adoption and they've been growing tremendous in actual users, you will see the token price take off, as a lot of people will then be buying the token to then stake on the platform to fully unlock their superchargers. So if DeFi booms and Freeway token continues to get the adoption that it has been, you're going to see this token price go crazy. And that's why I hold such a big position in this. And though I've been tempted to sell because other things are so cheap, I have not wanted to touch my Freeway token position because I have a large one, and I expect this is going to do amazing things. All right, let me see what else is going on. Elio Trades was the big pump for Freeway token. He talked about it, and I think it was the first time that I had heard a good explanation for what Freeway token was, because first of all, like Freeway token, that didn't make sense. Aubit, like that doesn't tell me what the company does. So Elio Trades covered it back when it pumped. Let me share my screen. When it pumped, he covered it like here, and it went to 2.5 cents immediately after his coverage, and then dropped way to here. So when I listened to him cover it, I was like, I didn't know the team back then, but when I listened to him, I was like, oh, that's really interesting. I have some questions to ask. I really want to know how they get that 43%, because I'm not going to buy unless I like the answer. And so I liked the answer enough that I started getting into it when it was here. Then I kept talking to the team, kept talking to the team. And since then I have covered it multiple times myself, because I like the answers that they give me, especially the contact that I frequently talk to seems really sincere. I was a negotiator for 7 years for a large investment firm. Doesn't mean I can perfectly read people, but I can usually gauge their sincerity pretty well. And so, yeah, I've continued to increase the position as well as covered it. So, am I buying more of it? I have a huge position. I'm tempted to buy more. We'll see if there's other things at highs that I can sell and roll into this. I will. I would definitely roll some Luna into this if I didn't have like a 28-day hold on when I unstake. So, cool. Great suggestion by the audience. Correct. In altcoins, they are about to add staking for freeway tokens. So by staking for freeway tokens, does that mean rewards on your freeway token? Say you stake 1 million freeway token, or in my case, millions of freeway tokens. Does that mean I'll get extra rewards, say 5% or 10% or 20%? Because that would be cool. I hadn't read any updates from them lately. Yeah, I know a lot in our audience have used it and had a lot of good feedback from audience members. All right. Bingo. Jay is what Chris says. That's cool. That is big news. All right. What do I think of Kitty Inu play to earn game? Well, I just hit my red flag radar. I had a chance to invest in that in their pre-sale, but I saw this during the pump of 2017, 2018, where people would ride off a name of something else that was popular. And so the red flag that goes off in my mind is, if your project's really strong, why are you capitalizing off of somebody else's name branding if you believe in your project? What I saw is most of the projects that did that, they went to zero during the bear market because they never were that solid. They were just kind of like riding a wave that was happening. And so I haven't looked into it too much further than that. Other than I like the graphics and everything. Like I like the other things I saw. I hope I'm wrong on that, but I passed on the investment because, one of the VC groups I know that was raising on it, they were really big on it, but I was like, nah, I'm not sure. And that was the only red flag that hit me with that, but I passed on it. So I can't say much more than that. Oh, 15 to 30% staking rewards on freeway token. That is awesome. From Dougie and Sailing on 2021. Both said that. Yeah, I'll have to have an updated talk on them. They've been a little bit shy to come on video. I mean, they're fully doxed and everything. They're just like, with so many regulatory countries around the world, what we'd hate to do is come on video and actually just misreference things just a little bit and stuff. And that makes sense to me. There are some videos where they talk, right? And you can see them. But that's their concern. And I would have that same concern if I were in their position, especially when you're dealing with DeFi, and that some governments are going to take a negative approach to it too, right? Some governments are trying to get Do Kwon from Luna to come talk to them and stuff because they don't like an algorithmic stablecoin. And there will be a fight, right? Countries don't want an alternative to their options. They want to be the only option. And when they're losing that battle, they'll try to force it with regulation. All right. What I do like about Freeway Token, it doesn't have an algorithmic stablecoin. It's playing into systems that already exist. And so I don't know that a regulatory fight would necessarily include them like it might with Luna. Though I've loved the Luna ecosystem and using it, and Terra Station, it's a fantastic wallet, and you can swap and trade and you can stake using it. I mean, it's really done top notch. All right, so we're 43 minutes in. Let's jump into some news that I wanted to share. Some of this research comes from D, and some of it comes from Stardust Runner. Thank you. Ukrainian pool launches the first in the world global charitable ISPO-based crypto initiative to help Ukrainians affected by war. So was it initial stake pool offering? And so what's funny is Ukraine has really gotten behind crypto as a way to bring, to raise funds because they have been fighting this war, but they need money to help them fight this war. And congrats to all the brave Ukrainians. I love what you're doing. It's inspiring. Actually, the whole world sees it. So congratulations to you guys in the fight that you're doing and all the creative ways that your officials are finding to fund it. So I hadn't read through to see what so it's Ukrainian pool. Now, what ISPO, the one that I know that's been big on ISPOs is Cardano. Now, is this on Cardano? Because I didn't see in the article when I skimmed through it right there. Cardano ecosystem. Yep. So you can delegate to the Ukrainian pool on the Cardano ecosystem. So if you want to help them out in an easy way to help them out, you can delegate to their pool, and they're using that to help actually defend their own freedom. All right. Visa, this is a really interesting article, is seeking new college grads for crypto development program. Successful candidates will, among many other tasks, define Visa's crypto strategy and identify new product opportunities. So what they're trying to do is not to lose, kind of like IBM totally lost to Microsoft. So Visa is kind of like the IBM of the money system, and they're trying to take some fresh college grads that are really, really smart to help them think of innovative ways to define their own crypto strategies so they don't get, I guess, lose huge market share to other competitors in this space. So according to a recent job post, Visa is inviting new college grads to join its 18-month rotational crypto development program. Applicants will alternate between the three departments of Visa's current crypto system: crypto product, crypto solutions, and digital partnerships, where they're given training, development, mentoring, networking, and leadership exposure on top of practical experience in the industry. Now, what's amazing about this article is 4 years ago, we would have dreamed for this type of news. And now this type of news is so commonplace. When I was new in crypto, it was like you couldn't even get Visa to say anything positive about crypto. And it was just kind of very dismissive. So 4 years later, you're looking at the cycle of adoption, right? And so it's happening. It's happening right before our eyes. All right. Just in Time has a super chat. Thank you. What's up with the Cardwallet? They're down 92% since your interview with them. Yes, I know. They had just recently launched, and like a lot of post-launch projects, a lot of times when these things launch, the best time to get into them is at the IDO, because during their vesting schedules, where almost every project now really squeezes their initial launch tokens. So this is how you capitalize on new projects that are coming out, is you have to be able to get in at the IDO, because at the IDO, now they're even locking up some of those tokens. But if you're able to get in the IDO, there's a chance you get at least 33% of your tokens, if not 100%, or sometimes 50% right away. And you're able to make some profits. Because what happens is the price comes out and then it gets savaged over time. And then if the project is stuck around and continue to do things, then it will recover and then shoot up, and possibly shoot up quite well. So you're right. Look at this nice rounding, now mostly flat bottom. So it's nice that it's near or at its lows, and that probably won't go much lower than this. But it's a terrible place to be if you bought in up here. So that was way back in August that they launched. So here we are about 6 months later. And part of the reason that price drops so much is not only are there pre-sale investors, but there are also ecosystem tokens and other things that invest. And what those ecosystem tokens are often done, they often sell those to get additional funds to continue to fund their development of their project. And so it just puts a lot of downward pressure on the price. And then when you're in a market that is generally down, that downward pressure on the price just collapses the price, because there's no upward pressure pushing against that. Until later, as some of their innovations really start coming to fruition, and then there's some upward price pressure. And it doesn't take a lot to push past that little bit of downward pressure from this vesting, but it does take some, and enough that that buy pressure exceeds it. And then you see the price go the other direction, because for now, it's been going down. Now, Cardwallet, good project. I like what they're doing. Are they going to make it long term? I hope so. I'm really liking their prices now. But if you're not able to get in the IDO on these projects, it's usually better to wait, unless we are in a market that is absolutely taking off. So when I almost never buy is in that couple week period after launch. unless I'm able to get it right away and then sell it when it gets a little bit higher. This is why back in March, as I was building some of my wealth, I was absolutely in every launch pad I could get so that I could buy at the IDO, and then I would sell it almost usually everything they gave me. I would sell it within a day or two or within the first 2 weeks, because then the vesting schedule would do this. Great question. Dub Digital. Yeah, the news is so bullish now, but new investors have no idea the struggles of the past. So true. Dub, if you haven't ever listened to his channel, I love his take. When you talk to him in person, like, he is so personal. He's so smart. He's exceptional at economics, which is the type of people that I like to listen to, because I feel like your best investors understand economics, right? And he has a background in economics, and you can hear that when you listen to him talk. He also has a hilarious personality too. Yeah, Chris Ashby says, "What's up, Dub? Dub in the house." Tito says, "Lord help us." I think he is in some ways, but sometimes hard to see till later. All right, let's see what other news we have. This was an interesting one that D suggested we look at. Want to jump in here, D?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I thought it was interesting, just given the timing of the video yesterday you covered on Luna. I mean, not, what it was pitched to me was that there was $1 million bet placed on Luna. I didn't realize it was coming from the CEO. So if you scroll down a little bit, it was like a Twitter battle almost, so to speak. So yeah, this guy says so Sensei all good trading, or all God trading. Yeah, he wants to take $1 million bet that Luna will be lower at a lower price in a year than right now. And so the CEO stepped up and was like, "I'm in." Yeah, super, just kind of a funny little exchange. But then, I guess that it's actually going down. So I don't know, kind of funny.
Look at his response. "Would prefer to ask whatever your net worth is and bet 90%.
Right. Yeah. He's like, but maybe this is what that is already. So yeah, throwing a little shade as well. But yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting, right? If a year from now, I mean, if Luna, I'll let you talk about whether you think, who would win this bet. Obviously, we don't know.
So obviously, the person taking the bet, he knows that every algorithmic stable coin has unpegged and failed. I do feel like Luna's UST is the strongest stable coin, but there is that risk, right? And so that's why he was throwing it out there. And Do Kwon's like, "I'll take that bet." And I heard they were upping it to 10 million. I haven't confirmed whether that's happened or not. But Do Kwon is the founder of Terra Luna and the ecosystem. And so obviously he's a big believer in it and willing to put his money where his mouth is.
Yeah.
So, yeah, thanks for sharing that article. I'd heard these stories in talking to some friends, but I hadn't seen the specifics of it. So thank you. There's another one that Dee shared that absolutely worth covering. And Bored Apes. So we talked about the other day that they bought CryptoPunks and Meebits, which was an interesting purchase.
Right.
And then we found out that their startup plans include virtual land sales that they probably have going on with some VCs. I hadn't heard of it till now.
Yeah, it's supposed to happen this month. They're looking to do one in March and one in August as well. So obviously I don't know, where that's going to take place, but they're partnering up with Animoca Brands to do that, to kind of help launch the land. So yeah, I mean, it was Yuga. What's the name of it's Yuga?
Yeah, Yuga Labs.
Yuga Labs. I mean, they're doing big things, right? And so yeah, I mean, I know how big you are into land sales, so I thought that was worth keeping an eye on for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know what their plans are for the metaverse. It does help that they have so much, I guess, popularity power, right? And some of that comes from when they really went big. A lot of celebrities like Serena Williams, Jimmy Fallon, Snoop Dogg, including Justin Bieber bought a Bored Ape Yacht Club. And a lot of it
sports guys, yeah. Steph Curry, kind of big one. Rudy Gobert has one. Eminem bought one pretty recently.
So yeah, that kind of star power. It was definitely a big thing that they bought Meebits and they bought CryptoPunks. I don't have any CryptoPunks. I do have some Meebits. Yeah, so I was excited about that news. And Meebits ran from 3 ETH, about what they were trading up, to 4.5 ETH when that news came out. And so we'll see what this metaverse idea is. This was the first I was hearing of it. I am bullish on smart land purchases, so we'll continue to cover this if we get some good news that the public is able to participate in this and what the prices are and how to participate. We'll definitely give that some coverage, because I do think land in metaverses, some of the metaverses that are coming about now, that land will probably be worth millions of dollars in the future. Yeah, do check out Dub Digital's channel as well. He goes live like all the time now, and it's quite fun, and you get a chance to interact with him. All right, let's see. I've got some other news. Crypto adoption to skyrocket in South Korea as president-elect imposes 0 taxes on gains. Oh, please bring this to the rest of the world, right? Portugal did it, but Korea is now fighting for that, and this is where politicians want to stay elected. And so that's we talked about in the run-up to the actual election day how the different candidates were promising more and more crypto-friendly regulations. So now that the one has won, that's interesting. 0 taxes on gains. Korea, how's South Korea looking? D, do we want to go to South Korea?
Right. I don't know a lot about South Korea. It's probably not. I know there's some good that Thailand has some good incentives for crypto. I might lean more toward Thailand. I like that tropical environment. Although I don't know. I don't know if I want to deal with like the bugs and spiders and stuff. But yeah, I mean Korea. Yeah, I don't know. El Salvador. Little closer.
I know.
Little closer to time zone anyway.
I know. Portugal, I heard it's hard to immigrate to Portugal, but Portugal is very crypto friendly that way too, especially if all your income is through crypto. In capital gains taxes on crypto is, I think, 0. So
yeah, up to $40,000 anyway. So yeah, so for guys like me, that's probably good. I don't know about for guys like you.
I don't know. There's no billion by my net worth yet. I'm working on that. Give it 5 more years, maybe. So yeah, well, that wraps up a lot of what we wanted to cover today. Thank you so much for joining us. Stay tuned tonight. I know it's later for some of you on different time zones. Like, it's a really, really late night, and you can watch it on the replay, but you get a chance to ask Doctor of Stuff your questions, and that's helpful. And sometimes there's great guests, and sometimes you hear from us, but it's a great time to talk about VV and what's going on in that ecosystem, because I do think it's going to be one of the biggest collectible marketplace in the world over time, and that they're doing all the right things, and that's why it deserves so much specific coverage. If you haven't already, are you ready to be a rainmaker and join the Navy SEALs of crypto to level up your crypto game? I know that this contrarian approach that I share, coupled with fundamental analysis, and you add in a lot of patience, it works very, very well over time. So if you haven't already, consider that all notifications bell, and then just tune in when you see our videos pop up. We do a live stream Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 11 a.m. Pacific, and now also an additional VV live stream Wednesday evenings at 7:30 p.m. Pacific. And we have shorter videos that launch throughout the week. Remember, no rain, no gain.
Came into the space chasing all of the gains, chasing the pumps and all of the hype trains. But like in life, shit right before you could. Was told to buy when it was pouring like a rainmaker should. I buy when it's down, don't chase the post that I miss. Cause I always make the time in mind. I take the one out cause I'm patient like that, and I'll wait for the right time. I sell when it's high, I buy when it's low. They call me rich, they call me smart. I'm just a rainmaker running the show. Calculated investments, I don't lead with my heart. Principles are simple, they're leaving a mark. Buy when it's boring, just gotta be smart. I sell when it's hype, like all the channels they pump it. That's when I was selling, got parabolic and dumped it. They call me rich, they call me smart. I'm a rainmaker, making my own start. I'm with the future, learning the past. Makes the time fly by, years going so fast. The game plan is mine, I'll own it now. When I reach the top, haters asking me how. Cause I'm a rainmaker, investments I love. And I follow what I learn, not relying on luck. Time is never better, the time like the present. The next 5 years is a gift and it's feeling like heaven. I'm committed to learn, studying to know that nothing comes easy, but with knowledge the game show. Sticking out this road could soon become a bear market. Learning and growing, and when it's slow will be the target. They say it's come out, Bitcoin is dead. The massive decreases can get to your head.